What does the Hulk look like in a tuxedo? Smashing. Welcome to Comic Book Editions Volume 266. I hope that you've been doing well, been staying warm, and I'm happy that you're here to see some Marvel and DC comic books that I've recently added into my collection. This is your official welcome. And we get started right away with a book that I wasn't specifically hunting for, but when I saw it at a comic show, and for the price they were asking, it was too good to resist. Spider-Man and Hulk. It's a special edition from a summer Chicago Tribune edition back in 1980. This story, which is not nearly the length of a regular-sized comic book, was free inside of a newspaper. I think it was usually on their Sunday editions that they would do this. So the story doesn't really waste any time getting into how the Hulk has ended up in New York City, but the story starts out instantly. He's in New York City. He's battling the police. They're a little freaked out that the Hulk is there. Spider-Man swings on by, sees him, gets him out of the area, and kind of diffuses the situation. Realizes he might be changing back to Bruce Banner. So Spider-Man turns into Peter Parker, gives Bruce Banner some money and says, hey, one time someone gave me some money and it helped me out a lot, so I'm just returning the favor. And Bruce takes it. He leaves. A short time later, the Hulk is in Chicago. And of course, he gets turned into the Hulk again. He stops a man from being robbed. And this guy ends up penniless and broke. And Hulk gives him some money saying, once a friend gave this to me, so I'm just returning the favor. Hulk leaves. And then wouldn't you know it, the man from Chicago says, I remember giving money to a guy named Parker back in New York City once that needed it. So everything just comes full circle. This story was also reprinted inside a Marvel Team-Up Volume 1, Issue 126, 2 years later, in 1982. I remember some of these special edition comic books. Growing up in a small town, these never appeared in our newspapers. They were more reserved for the big cities. And I had some of the ones that were published in Texas, like Spider-Man, Iceman, and Firestar Go to the Nutcracker, or Spider-Man Meets the Dallas Cowboys, or there was X-Men at the Texas State Fair. My relatives snagged those for me. And while I said I wasn't specifically looking for this issue, I'm happy to have it because it was a fun little read. While we're talking about the Hulk, let's talk about a guest star appearance that he made in Fantastic Four Volume 1, Issue 166. This is from 1975. We have a Rich Buckler cover, Roy Thomas being the writer, and George Perez doing the interior art. So star-studded lineup here. The previous time that the FF had ran across the Hulk was in Giant Size Superstars number 1, 1 year earlier, in 1974. And if you might remember that story, that's the famous one where Thing and the Hulk end up swapping bodies. So the FF hasn't seen the Hulk since this time. The Army is called in the Fantastic Four because Hulk has been spotted in a certain region of the United States. So they need FF's help to really restrain him because they want to give him a cure to being the Hulk. So Fantastic Four goes along with it. They venture out there. They find the Hulk. They end up subduing him. The Army has promised that once he becomes Bruce Banner, they're going to let him go. They're just trying to help the guy. And when he does become Bruce Banner, the Army reneges on their promise. And Ben Grimm sees this, and he's been a little bit apprehensive about the whole ordeal to start out with. And when he sees that they're not living up to their promise, he goes and frees Bruce Banner. So that's the basis of this story. I've been wanting this. I think it's a 2-issue story arc. So now I at least have one part of the 2-issue story arc, the first part, and I want to get the next issue, which if I remember correctly, I think they're in Missouri on the cover of the next issue, like on a roller coaster or something. I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. So I'll be keeping my eye out next year to see if I can add that one into my collection at some point. Let's jump over to another Marvel team book for you. We have an anniversary issue of Avengers. It's issue number 150. This was from 1976. So George Perez does the cover and interior art for this story. Steve Englehart and Stan Lee are the writers for this anniversary issue, and it's got that fantastic cover with all these great Avengers right on the front. This was actually Steve Englehart's last issue as writer for Avengers. He had been on it for quite some time. I know the next issue, I think Jerry Conway starts writing it. There's a partial reprint of Avengers issue 16 inside, because this story leads up to the announcement of a lineup change, a roster change within the Avengers. Of course, they were known to do that many times, and issue 16 was the very first time that there was a big shakeup in the lineup. So they do reprint a little bit of that story inside of this one, and Thor ends up leaving the Avengers ranks in this issue as well. Let's move along, but stay with the Avengers title. Issue 164 is where we're going to go now. We're still at 1976. George Perez is the cover artist for this. Jim Shooter and John Byrne are the plotters for the story, with John Byrne doing the interior artwork. I mean, my gosh, George Perez and John Byrne on the same title. It's like everything a comic book fan would want. In this story, they address something that had happened in Avengers issue 159, where Scarlet Witch was shown to fly. And fans have been writing in saying, why is she flying? She had never flown before. What was going on? So they kind of answer that question by saying that she was trying out a gravity belt back in that issue, but she found it too unreliable, which is why she stopped using it, and you don't see her fly anymore. Of course, believed at the time to be her father, the Wizard, he appears in this issue as well. So the events between Avengers issue 162 and this issue, 164, find the Wasp and Yellowjacket teaming up with Spider-Man in a Marvel team-up issue. I featured the first of that two-part as a back issue of the week. It was last week's, and it did over 1,000 views, thanks to you. So thank you so much. My back issue of the week shorts have just been doing fantastic. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the Wasp and Yellowjacket and Marvel team-up, you can check out that short. Let's stay with 1976 and another Avengers issue for you. Here we have for issue 167, we have George Perez doing the cover and interior art. Jim Shooter and Roger Stern are the writers of this story. S.H.I.E.L.D. alerts the Avengers of this giant space station that suddenly has appeared. So the Avengers go to check it out and investigate. Inside they find the Guardians of the Galaxy. Lucky for the Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor and Cap had encountered them before, so they had a little cred going, a little credibility. In my Avengers collection, I now have issues 166 through 280 consecutively. And I'm not that far away from having an even bigger consecutive run. I'm 5 issues away from having issues 147 through 280, which is something that I'll try to work on as well. I think the 5 that I'm missing to have that are Avengers 148, 154, 155, 160, and 165. So if I get those, I can get a consecutive run from 147 through 280, which I would very much enjoy. Speaking of Avengers, be on the lookout. We haven't scheduled a date for it yet, but John's Comic with Friends and I will do another JLA versus Avengers episode spotlighting issue 20 from volume 1 of each title yet this month. We'll have a December edition coming up. I want to turn over to DC Comics, and I was just talking about the Justice League, so it's time to share a Justice League book for you. Here we have Justice League Infinity, and this is issue 1. This was a 7-issue miniseries, and it's kind of a sequel to Justice League Unlimited, and it's done in the style of the DC animation. We have a star-studded Justice League cast in here. It's told from the point of view of Martian Manhunter. But the rest of the Justice League represented are Atom, Batman, Big Barda, Blue Beetle, Booster Gold, Elongated Man, Fire, The Flash, Green Lantern John Stewart, Hawkgirl, Ice, Mr. Miracle, Red Tornado, Superman, Vixen, and Wonder Woman. How is that for a lineup? That's pretty good. But we got some good villains to take them on, too. We have Amazo in this issue. We have Granny Goodness. We have Calabac. And, of course, you get Parademons as well. So this was fun. I always was a big fan of the Justice League Unlimited cartoon. And since this is a sequel to it, it certainly brought me back. And I found this in a dollar bin. And I thought, That cover's way too good to leave it there. Let's pick it up for the funsies of it. And pick it up for the funsies of it is exactly what I did. Here's one, just looking at the cover, I'm sure you can tell why it's in my collection right now. It's Damage, Volume 2, Issue number 3. This was published in 2018, and Tony S. Daniel does the cover and the interior art for this issue. So Damage is a character named Ethan Avery, and honestly, I knew nothing of this character. At first, I thought it was Doomsday, but it's not. And I read this issue, and I thought, this was really, really good. So I started reading, it's issue 3, so I started reading a few of the issues before, and I'm like, this is really, really good. The first issue kind of sets up the origin and the plot of the series, and then it has some guest stars. Suicide Squad guest stars and Poison Ivy guest stars and Wonder Woman guest stars in issues 2, 3, and 4. So I'm thinking sometime we might do this next year on Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. One of the times that we have Silver Hair Bronze Age Babe on with us, and it's my pick for a story for us, this is one I'm going to keep in mind and maybe go back and revisit this because I think we would have a lot of fun looking at this series. Like I said, I thought it was interesting. I also want to feature Poison Ivy sometime just as a regular character on Fanboys Live and the Retro Review because I don't think we've spent a lot of time with her as well. And one more DC before this video gets wrapped up today. It's Superboy, issue 171 from 1971. So the earliest Superboy comic book that's in my collection from Volume 1. Carmine Infantino did the cover for this, with Frank Robbins being the writer and Bob Brown, the interior artist. We have the first appearance of Aquaboy. How can you resist this? It's Aquaboy. And in this story, Aquaboy's life is endangered by an oil spill. So he has some dolphins carry him to Superboy, who ends up saving his life and then helps him go after the irresponsible people, the oil company that's been polluting the oceans. So that is the basis of this story. I have some other friends in the comic book community that have this comic book in their collection, and throughout the years I've seen them share that, and I always thought, you know, sometime I should pick up that book and put that in my collection. That looks like that would be something fun to have in the collection. I absolutely love the cover. And at this comic show that I was at, it was there. Once again, price is good. Bing, bang, boom. It's mine. I mentioned my back issue of the week YouTube short, and they've been doing incredible the last few weeks. I dropped one on The Adventures of the Outsiders, the first issue after Batman left them. After it was Batman and the Outsiders, the title changed to Adventures of the Outsiders. That's my current back issue of the week. That is on my channel. If you haven't checked out that short, feel free to do so. Thank you again for 1,000 view on last week's, and the week before, the Firestorm one did 3,000 views, and the DC Challenge one, did almost 900 views, which is still cool. And the week before that did 1,000 views on Nightcrawler. So this has been going quite well, thanks to you. And I'm getting ready to start my 5th year of doing the back issue of the week. The first Monday in January will be the 5th year consecutively, and I haven't missed a week yet. So that's fun. I have a 1,000 subscriber party with announcements to come soon, including a date. I'm just in the process of locking down a few things to be able to announce this. It's probably going to happen in January. Let's get through the holidays, and then let's start out the new year with a party and a celebration. That's what I say. So details coming on that. I have a Marvel key that I think I'm going to share with you next week in my comic book editions video. It's one that I wasn't looking for, but I definitely was open to it when the opportunity came into my collection. So I'm planning on sharing that probably with some Ollie's pickups in next week's video. What did you think about what I shared today? That's what I'd like to know now. Your comments are welcomed, encouraged, and appreciated. I love reading those too. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, it's a great way to show support, as well as giving the video a thumbs up, a like, a heart, and sharing the channel and the video with someone that you think might find this interesting. Another great way to show support. Thank you so much for your friendship and support. You guys treat me awesome, and always enjoy spending time with you. I was back on the 1011 with Gary B last week, and that is archived in the collaborations playlist folder here on my channel. And my 1011 that I did last week was super signatures. But these weren't comic books signed by creators. Instead, it was like 8x10 photos of actors and actresses that autographed it to me who have played superheroes. So check that out in the rewind if you haven't had the chance to see that. And I'll do a non-superhero autograph-themed edition next month back on Gary's channel too, because he invited me back. So I'm looking forward to that. Thank you so much. Don't forget about Fanboys Live and the Retro Review Man Cave Comics this Sunday to wrap up our season. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central. The greatest DC comic show on YouTube is Fanboys Live and the Retro Review. I look forward to seeing you there and to seeing you here for next week's Comic Book Editions video. Until then, take care and have a great rest of your day. Bye for now. v.266. I'm so happy that you're here to... It is too cold for my brain to think.